to be drafted for that finals, for those finals, because it's evenly matched. It's incredibly close. Like all the runners are between like are behind minutes. The worst in May is maybe a minute, 2 minutes behind the others, and it is starting just now. We are maybe going to see some desync between the runners because the load times are crazy in this game, and obviously we are removing them for fairness. So we usually start with the tutorial to grab an extra coin, and here we go. Just seeing the basic moves. We can jump, we can dash, we can shoot, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, the tutorial actually optional, but that coin you get in the tutorial, you get to keep that. You get to put that in your pocket and hold on to it for later. And this nice fellow on the chair, and what is some kind of vegetable apple man? I'm not sure, but he's got some coins. He's going to give them to us, and that gets us what we need to buy our first weapon. And I'm actually not sure what everyone's route is. I know some of our players today are going to opt for spread, and I'm pretty sure some of them are going to opt for roundabout. Yeah, we see Fabulous purchasing that roundabout. So already we're seeing a pretty big difference in strategy. Spread does more damage, but requires you to hit with pretty much all 5 projectiles of the spread if you want to be out damaging your other options. And so obviously, you know, you're not always able to get right in things' faces. And even when you can, it is a lot more risky than keeping your distance and fighting with some of the other weapons. But we see the safer roundabout option for Fabulous and Vandal. We're seeing also the same for Moonroom, but Steffler has opted for Spread here.
So Spread is probably the fastest weapon. Also, it is very close. And the roundabout is the safest choice and is decent if you can manage to get the super to bounce back and not and dodge it and get some good hit with it. You will see some action with that a bit later. But it is like safer, but it can be trickier to use. The spread shot is tricky to use and risky to use because the big attack, it deals like 8 shots in every direction, and you want to be into the hitbox of the boss to be able to hit all those missiles, and if you do so, you are going to take a hit yourself, and that might lead to scary situations. So very interesting choices for all those runners. Getting to the second boss, and it's already quite tricky. The game is not easy. Get some good shots for Fabulous using his super here, getting to the second phase. Probably in first place so far, getting some good hits. We can see that super action where he dodges his own shots, trying to land as many hits as possible.
I've seen some players opt to, you know, they have the super, they could totally use it, but they opt not to just because, especially if you're using spread and it's not a good time for a spread super. The spread super is the most damaging, but it is very hard to use to hit with all of the projectiles to really get the actual maximum damage out of it. So, you know, I've seen players not want to have to weapon switch, super weapon switch back, and opt to, for the sake of consistency, I suppose, opt to just keep shooting and finish out a boss fight, and you're going to cost yourself, I don't know, a second, maybe 2, at the, you know, with to give yourself that consistency that you're not going to screw up that input or whiff a shot or whatever. So there's little trade-offs happening a lot in this game, and normally it's mostly about, you know, don't die to a boss in this game when it comes to racing, but these guys, their points are so close that these little seconds can add up. So some pretty important decisions being made by these players all throughout this run.
Yeah. Vandal finishing the boss at about 4 minutes. Stifler is about actually 20 seconds ahead of him, but once again, due to in-game time being removed, you can judge the performance of the hardware they're using rather than their skill. if you see some time difference between them. Moonrim getting pretty much the same time as Vandal, and Fabulous heading on the first flying level. An interesting one, when you are on your tiny plane, you get a new super. It's a missile that goes very fast and connects with the enemy it's facing. It doesn't explode on contact, so it can hit multiple targets, and we are going to see that right now. The missile moving with Hildeberg and getting some crazy multiple hits on her face, dealing a massive amount of damage. Vandal does not go for that because he wants to play safely, I guess. Does not want to die, and that's a good strategy. If you're not sure you're going to make it alive, you should like try to dodge everything and just take the boss out as you can. Pretty much like it's pretty tense. This game can be very difficult if you get cornered with a little HP.
Fabulous has got in some shots here. Yeah, sure enough, there it is. Gonna take down Hildeberg with a time of, that was about a 5:22, 5:23. I suspect that Steffler is got a fair bit of lead here, but we're not going to see that resolve until there, where we're going to see, yeah, about a 20-second lead for Steffler, who still has the audio. I think that was a gold split. I think that's what that audio cue means on Steffler's stream. So he's got a, he sounds happy about that, but that is a recording that plays on. Anyway, we are moving on to Cagney Carnation. A pretty tricky fight, having to get up on these platforms, and definitely an advantage for Roundabout versus Spread here.
Yeah, this is the first level where clearly it's hard to hit with the spread shot, because you are going to connect only like 3 out of the 4 shots you are throwing at the boss. So you can see those tiny jumps from Stifler, but yeah, it is a clear advantage from the Roundabout here. So Fabulous is going to save time compared to Stifler, probably. Very good fight. The boss explodes at Jan Flower, does not do any damage. Very nice fight. Stifler jumps as much as he can. Oh, I think he whiffed that super here. Not sure. And has to be careful because you have 3 HP to work with, which is like a decent amount, but not too much. And those random shots the boss throws at you can corner you sometimes. So, but yeah, very, very good fight also. We are getting out of the first island, and we get like to a entire new island, so 5 new bosses you can take out in any order you want, but obviously in a speedrun you have like the fastest route in mind, and we start with Beppy the Clown, which is probably the hardest boss in the entire run for the this category.
Maybe. He's definitely, like, pretty much every form has something that's going to give you trouble. The first one, if you decide to get behind him, which is probably what you want to do with Spread, he can kind of back up and give you no room to move. He's kind of random as to how he jerks around in this bumper car. Especially if you're using Spread, you want to be trying to get the Spread supers on this third phase, which you need to release right at the top of your jump if you want to hit with all of them. That's pretty hard, and then there's some randomness as well going on in the third phase with what color donkeys, I guess these are, that you get. Fabulous was letting loose with a Roundabout super there. He was maybe trying to tag him just before he went off screen to save a cycle. It is a cycle-based boss, so the time save does come in pretty big chunks if you can skip that cycle.
Vandal finishing the second phase as Fabulous was actually defeating the boss, and Stifler making like good time on that second phase, having some very nice shots. 2 HPs remaining, and that third phase is probably the scariest one. You have to dodge all those shots. You have 2 colors for that horse. The yellow one throws lines of iron there and try to get you, and the green one throws those wave shots that are always tricky to dodge. Trying to anticipate something that does not move in a straight line can always be a bit tricky. And yeah, first place definitely for Stifler. His team, their team has 27 points to make compared to Fabulous's team, which is like actually quite a lot. In Cuphead, that's about 3 minutes. But yeah, it can go quickly. We are going to have in the second time the races of the 4 best players for their team, which is going to be very interesting because like everything will still be unsure until we see those final results for the overall standings for the tournament. So far so good for team T2S. Decent run from Fabulous. Vendel is probably one of the weakest runner on Cuphead for that race with Moonrim. They both try to de-rust or learn the game very recently. When they learned, they had to get onto that one. And some of the other runners are more experienced. As we are on Yumi's Great, probably one of the most straightforward bosses here. Just have to dodge the shot, and it's pretty tough to lose time or gain time on that boss fight. If you don't die, you can connect a lot of his shots because his hitbox is pretty big, so it's all okay. Went well for Fabulous. Vendel and Stifler are going to make it quickly, and yeah, a knockout on sync.
Into the Baroness von Bonbon fight. Looks to be very far ahead of the other runners and is by a fair bit, except for Steffler, who I think is actually in the lead, and we're going to see this weird desync grow because of the difference in load times, but we'll deal with it. Fabulous has Roundabout, which helps a lot in this fight. It is very hard to do full damage with spread when Baroness von Bonbon is up on this roof, whereas with Roundabout, you can just turn it face left, and it's working out pretty well for Fabulous. Going to finish off that phase at 11:13 or so. So Steffler has a minute to beat this boss if he wants to be ahead of Fabulous. And even if he is ahead, he needs to be quite a bit ahead. I didn't realize that 27 points translates to about a minute and a half. That is actually a really big gap. But there's 2 races, and things can happen. So it is not over yet. You really want to hustle, and we'll see how the players do. There's some opportunities to get some extra supercharge, but it's pretty hard to use your supers on these in this first phase. And most players end up with full 5 supers going into the second phase anyway. So I haven't seen players go out of their way to parry those little soldiers on the ground to get some extra supers.
Yeah, it can be tricky to decide whether or not it's worth it to go for those parries to get some more charge shots. I don't know what's like. Cuphead has been run quite a lot, and you have like some theory on how to kill the fastest the bosses, but obviously the fastest routes are the hardest and the riskiest, and sometimes it's not quite worth it to go for that one extra parry to get your short shot a bit earlier. It's always tough to decide, but nobody died so far, I think, which is like crazy good for all those the 4 runners. The time differences they make is just due to minor optimization, which is like very remarkable.
Especially for Vandal and Moonroom, like you said, who are not quite as practiced at this game as the others. Due to the format of the team tournament, you try to put different players into different roles that they're comfortable with, and we're into game 5 now. So these 2 players were locked in. No matter what game it was, these were the 2 players who were going to have to come out and play it. So thankfully, everyone we're going to be seeing today, including Moonroom and Vandal, are fairly strong Cuphead runners. But there is about a 40-point difference between PBs. Maybe it's more closer to 30. I take it back. But everyone is doing really well is good at Cuphead, and is doing especially well at Cuphead today. Like you said, no deaths, really clean runs. from all the players. I think that's mostly what everyone wanted when they came out to compete today.
So this is in simple difficulty. So if you know the game, we are missing that one extra phase for all the bosses. That makes the game a bit easier and faster. But do remember that UD6 is all about learning 10 games, so you want to have that one or two easy games or easier games, and Cuphead is one of those. So this is not like the hardest experience the game can offer, but still pretty tough to get like consistently in a race. But certainly those runners are doing a great job at it. Stifler finishing about a minute ahead of Moonrim there. Fabulous killing that boss quite easily. It's not the dragon, can be tricky on that second phase because all those clouds are randomly distributed and can be on the exact wrong spot compared to the little flamey soldiers that jump at you. So it's all good for them. And they get to Island 3 there, where we are going to see some more bosses, but it's almost the end of the run already. Runners are making very good progress, and that B can be tricky. Let's see, the first phase you have to kill the cop as fast as possible, but the screen is scrolling down, and you don't want to drown too far into the honey. Getting good timing there. Stifler and Vendel still on the dragon. Vendel taking one shot here, only 2 HPs left. Careful.
Yeah, both of them down to their final hit. Steffler gets the kill on the dragon. Vandal is, I think, maybe missed a little bit. Oh, had to get really high to avoid the jumping flame. Didn't actually land on the part of the cloud that would save him from that other flame. So he's going to go ahead and have to redo that whole fight. That is the danger of Cuphead. Even on the simple mode, it is very easy to die, and deaths are extremely punishing in this game.
Yeah, so Vandal for Team Picture there. They are at 992 points, so that's a 2 points lead compared to the PB Squared team from that's Moonrim's team. So 2 points on Cuphead is 12 seconds, so that's clearly more than was lost. And they are 15 points behind Fabulous team, and 15 points are about like a minute and a half. So, you know, time flies actually, and that game, like, I wonder. So on Saturday we are going to see our first competitive tourney for the UD6. Oh, Moonrim getting that final shot, barely making it. And for those competitive tournaments where we are going to see all 10 games, I wonder how hard it's going to be Cuphead, or how easy it's going to be for all those runners that are going to join us, because it is on the leaderboard probably the easiest game. Like, you can get good score, a good time with very little investment from your. But yeah, it's tricky in races. And Vendel lost a lot of time, finally made it, but Stifler is one entire boss and a minute ahead Vandal, which is quite a lot. Fabulous still making very, very good progress, finishing that second to last boss.
Yeah, Sally stage play is done. The roundabout doing really good work during the sort of dive kick phase, the first two, because it's really hard to get your full damage in with the spread while she's above you and moving. You can aim up at her, but you're probably not going to be hitting with all 5. Whereas with roundabout, you can just turn around and fire behind you, and by the time she comes down, those shots will come back around, and you're pretty much never giving up any damage. Just another example of the consistency of the roundabout. And then you can also go for some big damage, where like we saw Fabulous there in phase 1 of the Phantom Express, the last boss of this goal, doing the jumping over the hula hoop to keep the damage going. We're seeing some of that now from Vandal, who had 2 going on Rumor Honeybottom, but wasn't able to keep them going. It's not really too great because he leaves the screen, and then you'd have to be jumping for a while to make it make it last. But Steffler now into that Sally stage play fight, using that spread.
It is very tricky to use correctly the super from the roundabout on that giant bee honey bottom, because like the screen scrolls, you want to jump regularly, but if you jump too high, you're going to hit that platform that is always above you, and it can be like it can go wrong. That's why the spread is way better on that fight, and it's pretty easy to connect all the shots, having the super to walk for you. And yeah, Stifler is going to have a fantastic time, but Fabulous is going to sign the first sub 20 here, almost sub 19 actually, maybe sub 19, no, barely not, but very
Wow.
nice run.
1904, we'll call it 0.01 off of the. He got the sub 1904. Nice job, just barely. That is a monstrous time to put up for Cuphead. It's sort of setting the bar here for Steffler, who has a minute to beat the Phantom Express, which is maybe a big ask. I'm actually not sure how close they are. Kind of needs more than just matching Fabulous if he wants to take his team into that #1 spot. There is about 27 points for Team T2S, Steffler's team, to make up on Fabulous's team, Team Take Damage. So it may fall onto Mel West's shoulders, who is the top time holder for Cuphead in the UD, but he's going to be up against Toru, who has a solid 200 points. So it's still a big ask, and it's looking like Fabulous has done a great job of putting Team Take Damage in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Looks like Stifler lost a lot of time on that final boss, according to just the shade, the hue of his split of his timer. I don't know what happened, but we see way more phases that we are used to, and finally takes out the boss. So yeah, Fabulous is actually going to finish first here, even compared to Stifler, which had like a fantastic run, like some very, very solid splits, apparently 2 gold splits at least, and made a good run, had a good run, and yeah, Fabulous had 1848 this afternoon, just had his PB earlier, which is like always a good sign for an upcoming race. And that's also a good reason we have that team tournament. It's all for fun. There is absolutely nothing to win in the context of the UD except bragging rights. But it's always a good opportunity to come back to some games. Cuphead is not so far off. Like it's still maybe fresh in the memory of some runners. I know a lot of runners are still trying to optimize the game. It's a game that's easy to stick with, but yeah, all the runners still had the opportunity to shave a few seconds compared to their PB, and that's what Fabulous did. And yeah, that's like I don't know if we are going to see sub 19 today. Maybe Toru or Melwes can do it, but it's still very tough.
Yeah, those are the two that I think have a chance. Chidu's got a 192 point PB, which translates to what time?
It's
1944-ish. Oh, it's actually been improved a little bit. 1941.
So 200 points is the 19 minutes. So Fabulous, falling just shy of that, got 199 points. Stifler got 196. You have like the standings for the game here in chat. Just pasted that. And yeah, we see that Silver Shady did beat the game in 19 minutes and 13 seconds, but his team Kitsune Runners, Team KR, is currently in 5th place, and it's going to be completely impossible now, judging by Fabulous time, to get the 1st place. So, you know, it's still good thing to keep on joining those races. I'm pretty happy to have seen so many teams joining that fun team tournaments. We've seen a lot of PBs actually from a lot of runners, and yeah, I think that the goal Moonrim finishing the Phantom Express at 23 minutes.
Moonrim pretty close behind. Had a really close finish, finding that last hit on the Phantom Express, but did get it. Did get that knockout, and is going to be finishing. I'm going to guess 27 seconds behind Vandal, keeping it very close. We'll see how close my estimate was.
Very nice. 23:27.55 for Moonrim. So congrats to all our runners. That was way faster than I anticipated. Actually, like lots of great runs. We've seen a couple of deaths, but nothing too bad. All those runners keeping up to living up to the hope I had for that race, and that means that it's going to be incredibly intense for the final run, because so far with the results of Silv Shady, of Vandal, Stifler, Fabulous, and Moonrim, we have in first place Fabulous and Taurus team, the take damage team, with 1206 points. In second place, we have Stifler and Melwest team, the T2S team, with 1176 points. In third place, we have the Vandals and Chidus team, the Peters team, with 1154 points. And in fourth place, we have Kantos and Moonrim's team, the PB squared team, with 1145 points. So that's very close. The gap is between first and fourth is 60 points, which is like 6 minutes in Cuphead, so that's almost impossible to catch up, but we'll see what happens. It's very interesting. And Komtos, Taurus, Melwest, and Shidu are going to get ready. We are going to set up their stream, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that might take a little bit, but you know, there's been a lot of players who came out to compete in the team tournament. Team Kebab was Ayash, Brother Main, Al Nakur, Schlumpf, and Axodo. The foreigner crew of non-native Frenchmen, I believe, is the theme there. Mollyman, Magic, Jats, Soggy Toost, Hypno Speaker. Team PB, MTK, Dr. Ryle, Fielter, Elgerin, and Epsilon. And Team KR of Babast, KTH, Little Mai, Silv Shady, and Zoph, who that seems like a really strong lineup, actually. They're on here. They're in second. I missed one. What was I looking for? Oh no, they're in second just because those times got updated. They were off stream, and we got some really strong runs from both those players. That's what was throwing me off. Yes, those are the players that are on the teams we haven't seen competing today. And once all these times come in, I don't think we're going to see anyone jump into the top four. Pretty sure we're going to be able to keep with these same four teams as we move on to the second race. That's been the format. We've been 2 races of all 5 games. 5 games chosen from the 10 Decathlon live. We played Metal Slug first, followed by Castlevania, Aria of Sorrow, Shovel Knight, Story About My Uncle, and now we're finishing off with Cuphead. We saw this team T2S jump out to a massive lead in the first game. Melwest and Vlad really took it to Metal Slug, finishing kind of head and shoulders above everyone else. Team P-Tour had LF put up a very solid time, and Team Foreigner Crew had Mollyman put up a very solid time, but top 2 times both going to Team T2S in that game. In Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, we saw Team P-Tour answer with a really strong run from Chidu and a solid performance from LF. Bermondo actually had, no, Brother Main rather, had the 212-point time in Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. That was not enough to lift that team up into the top four for today, but fantastic time. Really strong performance from Team PB Squared as well in Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. In Shovel Knight, there's some people had some troubles with Shovel Knight. That caught most people off guard. Even on the top teams, we saw someone die in the first level. So the top times for Shovel Knight are not fantastic. People were not ready for the Shovel Knight, but Vandal and particularly Devil Tifa did a lot of work in Shovel Knight. Janth did a lot of work for T2S in Shovel Knight, and some pretty solid, consistent times from PB Squared and Take Damage in Shovel Knight. Story About My Uncle was where Team Take Damage really solidified the lead. That 27-point difference between first and fourth kind of came up from A Story About My Uncle. The Mask and Sable Yeah both had fantastic runs in that game. Sanki Toost tried to keep his team in it with a really strong 170-point run. Metalo and Janth also did really well in A Story About My Uncle. They're one of the reasons why T2S is competing today. And of course, it makes sense that Team PB Squared and P-Tour as well also did fairly solid. You got to do pretty good at least at all these games if you want to make the top four at the end of the day. Devil Tifa with the third best run of A Story About My Uncle out of our 16 players of that game playing for Team P-Tour.
I'm actually quite surprised how contested the first place is, because like due to the way the UD works, we are usually focusing on only a single player. So I'm not used to rating like teams. And so when I saw like Stifler, Mel West, Janth, Vlad's team alongside with Metalo, I was like, okay, those are all individually very strong players. It's probably going to be first place. And when I read like Devil Tifa's team, I was like, okay, there's Devil Tifa's there, so they're going to be very, very strong. And UD6 has a very interesting lineup of players. Like we have a lot of new, very strong players. Zoff's team, the KR team is actually doing fantastic, because just Zoff and KTH had like very, very, very good results alongside with some runners that de-rusted or learned certain game, and they got just very good times overall. And PB Square and Take Damage actually caught me off guard, because like even if I know a lot of those names, they just had overall very good results with very solid runs everywhere. Toru is fantastic during the UD6. He is one of the top 10 runners, very, very good times. Overall, his only weaknesses are Metal Slug and Shovel Knight in the overall 10 games. So that's a name we are going to keep on seeing, I guess, during the July, August, and September tournaments. So it's going to be interesting. So we should have the stream soon. We are figuring out with the mods to plug in the 4 new runners we are going to show off: Kontos, Toru, Mal West, and Shidu. I hope everything will be okay. I really want to see that final race, to see those final results.
I'm taking a look at the Cuphead leaderboard, because there was a pretty great SGDQ run this year by the Mexican runner of Cuphead, and I've been trying to see if it's affected the community, if people have got back in it and have started submitting runs. I'm seeing a run from 10 days ago, 18 days ago, 20 days ago. I guess there's a lot of categories, so it takes some exploring to figure out where people are submitting their runs.
Yeah, there's actually quite a lot of runners of that game. The Mexican runner, obviously, well-known name, motivated a lot of runners, and the game itself is quite interesting to speedrun because it's not your standard platformer. It's more dynamic. You have to play like very, very well, especially in the harder categories, like in the expert category. You have to be a master at Cuphead, but also all the little optimization you have to do. You have to learn a lot and to get in a lot. And it's a very, very challenging and interesting speedrun. So I'm fairly happy we see a lot of runs. The Mexican runner keeps on running it, streaming it fairly regularly. And yeah, if you like the game, do follow all the runners. A lot of people still find new speedrunners thanks to Speedruns Live front page, so do not hesitate and go there to check out a lot of games. And you have obviously the Twitch speedrunning community that can help a lot finding new speedrunners. But yeah, Cuphead is probably one of those games where some UD runner will stick with the game, learn new categories after UD6 ends, would be my guess. We have that with a little amount of games, like the most successful games usually tend to do that. Spelunky after UD2 was still around for a long time. Castlevania after UD3 was still making it. And yeah, Cuphead is probably going to be one of those runs where it's engaging enough and easy enough to get into that some runners will get just sucked in and will keep on going or coming back to it. And we are running in simple, so if you want to run in normal or expert categories, you have barely scratched the surface of what the game has to offer, which is very, very interesting. So
yeah, if you want to play the true Cuphead, then you want to go for regular or expert. I'm not sure where people fall. Based off the leaderboards, it seems like there's a lot more activity on the regular categories than the expert ones. But there's Cuphead it's just a great game. There's a reason it kind of took over Twitch and it took over speedrunning, and it attracted players from outside of communities who normally would speedrun a game like this. Like the Mexican runner is very firmly rooted in the NES and the classic. I mean, obviously the NES, having played all of the NES games, but to take on a new game like this, right? There has to be an appeal to it that pulls people in, and just looking at it and just listening to it, you can see the appeal, and that always, I think, makes a big difference.
Apparently, we may have some issues to get the players on screen. But we might have a solution. Apparently, lots of work done for us for the UD while all the speed gaming staff. Huge thanks to them. Without them, it would not be even remotely possible to have all the streams on Sundays and Thursday. But they're all going to come to an end because on Saturday we are starting like the more competitive aspect of for the UDs. So Saturday we are going to see 5 games, and the top 8 runners will qualify for Saturday the 21st, where we are going to play the 5 other games of the UD6, and the top 4 runners of that race will stream live just for runners all the 10 games, spread out 5 on the Saturday the 28th and 5 on Sunday the 29th, for just to see who's the best, and the top 2 will qualify directly for the grand finals. So that's going to be pretty intense. It's the first time in the UD history that we give away grand final places so early into the season. So a lot of runners just want to get onto that, because on board, because it's probably, if you're a fast learner, it's probably easier to get a place there rather than during the August or September tourney, because you gave more time to the other runners obviously to get better. But also, if we qualify two very strong runners right away, that's two less that will compete during the August and September tournaments. So it's an interesting balance. I know some runners are not going to join in on Saturday because they still want to still want some more time to get learning some games, just refine their Shovel Knight or the DKC are usually the names we see. Um, like the runners say, I'm not ready on that one or that one. Spec Trouble, Cuphead, mostly the runners are fine with them. The End is Nigh was announced last, so obviously a lot of runners still need to update that. And yeah, finally we see Kantos, Toru, Mile West, and Shiru getting on screen. Very nice. We are going to see what's the final word for that team tournament. But the lead for the take damage team is insane. If Toru manages just to get like a solid time, does not have to get a PB or outdo himself to snag the win. But 3 minutes ahead of Melwest, that's a lead Melwest can actually pull off. He's very solid at speed gaming in general, and it's going to be interesting. Vandal and Cheaters are going to have to work very hard to get that first place. They are 52 points behind the first place, so that's 5 minutes and 12 seconds they have to take from Toru, and that's going to be pretty much impossible. We'll see though. Maybe some miracle can happen.
Or whatever the opposite of a miracle is happens to Mel West, perhaps, or Toru rather. Then maybe take damage can get taken down, but that's not how you want things to go, for sure. But I don't know. This can be it can be a frustrating game when things don't go right. A player could get put on tilt. I really don't expect that to happen to our competitors today. They're all very good at the game first and foremost, but they also tend to be pretty strong racers as well. So it does seem like it's going to be very hard for our players to catch team take damage. But you know, second, third, and fourth are still up in the air in various ways, and it could come out to be pretty close, particularly between third and fourth. I think will be interesting to see who gets on the podium and who watches. The point difference currently is about 20, and it's going to be. Oh, I'm just making. Okay, not all the times are in, but some of the times are in. Oh, that's why two runners went on this other team. Okay, that's why they jumped into second, and that's what's freaking me out here. So I'm not going to try to read the leaderboard while it's incomplete and sort and figure that out. But I do know it's close between Chidu playing for P-Tour and Kantos playing for Team PB squared. So
they have less than a minute of time to make. Kantos has just to beat Chidu by about 54 seconds, and that would be tied for the third place. So that's why we need like some prizes. We need like some cosmetic on the player card for those team tourneys, just to have that extra bragging right.
That would be good. And if you there was like a pivotal, there was someone to identify a pivotal game where you brought in the points on this game, you were the anchor for the team or something. Yeah, there's some good stuff.
Well, yeah, we need to figure out some extra motivation, cosmetic stuff. But yeah, that reminds me, if you are going to watch speed gaming on July the 14th on the morning at 11 a.m., please be sure to go and clip some of the craziest thing that are going to happen. I don't know, craziest death or craziest catch up from a player, craziest move, craziest skips. We are going to try to go and make some nice highlights, and if you do go and clip some of the parts you like the most, that would make us like an easier workload for us, so that would be nice. And I know that Speed Gaming has an highlight reel that goes on, and yeah, don't forget to clip what you like the most during those races. It's always fun to watch again, like the intense moments we see. Like on depending on the games, you have like a lot of clutch moments that can happen, and it's always fun. Okay, all the runners are actually ready. I think we are ready to go. Um, so
Twin's gonna start him off.
Yeah, exactly.
Information's gonna travel in pipes around the world, and then eventually we'll see it manifest here in front of us. There's a little bit there to get going. We're seeing Melwest practicing with the spread. I'm not sure what other weapons these other players are gonna take. I know Kantos has a 165, so is one of the weaker runners of this pack that we got on stream. So I wonder if he'll go with a roundabout, if he's taking the safer option, or maybe not. I certainly don't recommend using something that you haven't practiced before. While I really like the idea of someone changing their strats to adapt to a race environment, such a big change is really not going to go well, especially if you're to spread as opposed to away from it. No, I don't know. The supers for both roundabout and spread are both very hard to use in different ways. So definitely players are going to stick with what they know. But what they know, I'm not sure of. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of runners we had.
Shidu got the 200% on the game, so that must be a good sign, I guess. So usually, the most you played, the better you are at the game, and we have some very different type of runners on screen. Melwest is the type that will only grind what's necessary to get a good time, and Shidu apparently is one of those runners that do like more of an in-depth playthrough and will just have a good time with the game before starting speedrunning it. And we are on Melwest, Toru, Shidu, and Kantos for the first place. Toru and Fabulous team, obviously having had like a good start. And yeah, let's go. Just check with Kantos. And we are obviously going through the tutorial. That's mandatory. You have to have that for that extra coin, and with the 3 bonus coins, you're going to be able to buy either the spread or the roundabout. Let's see what they do. I was amazed that we got 3 out of 4 roundabouts. Actually, it's way more than I expected. Melwest got the spread, Toru got the spread. We'll see in a minute for Shidu.
I think when we first had Cuphead on stream, it was pretty much all spread. You mentioned roundabout as kind of like a, some people are going for this, but it was all spread all day. But I don't know if people switched at some point or if it was just the way the players, we just happened to pick the spread bunch from the group. I'm not sure.
I don't know exactly what happened, but here it's all about the spread so far. We'll see with Kantos in a second. But yeah, good start from Toru. Melwest finishing a bit ahead. And, it's an intense speedrun when you are just like when you have to save 2 minutes compared to another runner. It's like if I don't go for all the minor optimizations, I know I'll never be able to do that, and I still need them to make a mistake or two. So it is very tense for Melwest and Toru. We'll see who takes the lead, and between Kantos and Shidu, obviously that 50 seconds difference is not going to be enough of a lead to be certain for the 3rd place. And Kantos got the roundabout, so that's a 4 in 4, if we add the 8 runners we got today, 4 for the roundabout, 4 for the spread shot. And that even distribution may be what we see on Saturday also. I don't know yet, but I little my one of the runners of the UD6 made like quite a good advertisement and got the roundabout quite popular, which is pretty funny. Okay, second boss done for Shidu, Toru, and Melwest. Let's go for that third boss, which is the first one I encountered with my casual Cuphead experience, and I was very confused as what I was supposed to do because that guy is super weird with his jump. He does not really attack you up until like very late into the fight, and he's just jumping. And all the speedrun optimization here is to get all the spread shots to connect while he's jumping. So you have to jump in sync with him, right behind him, which is tricky to do, but good success so far for all the runners. And
Yeah,
knockout
not
for
only does
Melwest.
your timing on your jump need to be correct, but your spacing also needs to be correct. You need to be close enough that well, I guess it's a bit of both. The closer you are, the less out of sync you can be. The closer in sync you are, the further away you can be. But there's really not a lot of margin for error before you start missing shots and losing damage and losing time. So Chidu had a really strong finish on that boss. Toru's already done. The Ribian Croaks are done now for Kantos, who is going to appear to be quite a bit behind for a little while here, and Melwest is going to be the first to reach Hildeberg.
Yeah, Melwest on that flying boss. You want to take those intentional hits while she charges at you, and then try to get the best hits you can with that bullet bill. Very nice work there. And it's all a matter of dodging at the correct time now, and just to get all your shots to connect. Getting that super here. When your 5 cards are loaded, you can do that super attack there, which deals like a crazy amount of damage. Melwest does not go for the second multiple hits, just wants to play it safe. He still has 2 HP if my eyes don't deceive me. So he's playing very safe, which is surprising, knowing the guy. But he gets like some very good race strats nowadays, which is very good, and gets the kill first there. Before the 5 minutes mark, let's see what Shiru does. Playing safe also, not going for the second hit. And Toru still has like a significant lead thanks to his teammate in the previous how many were that 9 runs they did, 9 races, but he has to still keep the gap close between him and Melwest. He is behind by about 10-12 seconds now, maybe a bit more, and that can, I don't know, we'll see. As long as he doesn't die, it's okay. And I do hope none of the runners die today, obviously.
That's kind of the big thing. If there is a death, it will probably take more than one. But I think after one death, you're probably more likely to die again, just due to the way people tend to work. Though, you know, maybe there are people out there who do well under pressure and will come back even better than they did before. We've certainly seen players die one case, run it back, and then do it perfectly the next.
Toru just got a double KO there, but he just barely killed the boss before taking a hit. I was super scared here, and he got just like saved by whatever mysterious way the game works. But that was crazy, very risky, and nice job. But Melwest did die, I think. Did he? Did they?
I'm looking at a results screen. I think
because
we're just
like
seeing a
now it's
difference in loading times and whatnot.
huh. Interesting. I was just focused on Toru, and my eyes went back to Melwest and seeing him not done with the boss yet, and I'm confused. Yeah,
He
I did
did.
die.
Shoot.
Ow, that's tough. Yeah, cannot allow that to happen. He died. No, too bad for him. Let's hope the remainder goes well. We still have like 2/3 of the run to go through, so anything can happen. With Beppy the Clown, Beppy the Clown has some very nice spreadshot strat on that second phase. We can see happening on Toru's screen on the top right. He gets all the spread shots right inside his hitbox. The hitbox doesn't damage you, so that's pretty easy to go for. And we go to the third phase. He only has 1 HP though, that can be scary. But nice dodges there. Toru getting some very good damage. And dodging those yellow shots. Almost done. Fourth pass on that phase. And knockout for Toru. Very nice. Slow fight, but made it alive.
Malwest took one hit, and he still had quite a bit of ways to go on that last phase there, but he wanted to get nice and close and make sure he could finish the boss off. I think he knew that he was going to be fine. The invincibility frames were going to last long enough, and that's still a pretty bold move to do, though, especially after a death.
Yeah, keeping his confidence. He knows, though, he has to go for that kind of stuff. So we'll see. Jimmy the Great is probably one of the worst enemy and boss to die on because it's so long, but it's also one of the easiest, so everybody should be fine there. We just have to get some hits going, never miss your standard shot, hit with your super as fast as possible, and you will just have the optimal time. It's not a matter of minor optimization, but just like trying to dodge the shots correctly, and you'll be totally fine. So we'll see what happens. Do remember to kill all the parts of those pillars because that still deals damage to the boss, and you can charge your supers with that, which is always nice. Also, Toru getting on that second phase, I don't know what that is. I will not try attempt to describe it, but you just have to dodge the shots, and you have like a lot of things coming your way trying to hit you. But Melwest is about 3 seconds ahead of Toru, which is not not enough yet.
It's going to need to a lead on 2 orders of magnitude higher than that, unfortunately. In this kind of situation, you need things to go perfect for you and hope that they go less than perfect for your opponent. And already we've seen kind of the opposite with Malwest having a death. So I don't know if it's really about playing to win the team tournament at this point, as it is so much to just play to do your best. It's kind of the situation that they're in with the lead that they've earned, that Team Take Damage has earned through those other 9 games. But turns out, playing to win the team tournament and playing to do your best anyway, kind of are the same thing.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
true.
just about expectations, I guess.
Yeah, on our seats, it's way easier to focus on the overall picture. When you are on the runner seat, you just want to think about nothing but your own run. Speedrunning races is not about it's not direct opposition. You do not have to beat your opponent, just do your best and see what happens. It's almost impossible to go for a strat you never practiced because you think it's going to give you an advantage. So it's all about judging the risks you are taking, but usually you just want to do as good as you can, as well as you can, and you'll see whatever the results are. And obviously for Melwest and Toru, they are joining on the July tourney, and they want to build their confidence for that also. So they want to see how solid they are on Cuphead, and that factors in also. So I hope it goes as well as they wanted. But usually a speedrunner is never happy with his results. You always want to do better. You always want to, even when you PB, you know you can get a better PB. So it's pretty unusual for a speedrunner to be actually okay with his runs.
It turns out it's easier to look at what is optimal and subtract seconds from that to get to where you are. In terms of assessing your progress, it's a useful tool that way. But it also does mean speedrunners do tend to be kind of negative, like you said, focusing only on their mistakes, where the time was lost and why and how, and that can help you improve. But it is also important for the players to take a step back and realize that, hey, you know what? I'm playing this game really good right now, and all four players are. Mel West is, I think, about 7 seconds ahead as of Baroness von Bonbon. Toru, 7 seconds ahead of Toru, that is. And both of them are probably pretty close to Chidu. There's a difference in loading times going on, so it's a little hard to tell. We'll try to keep an eye on those timers and see where people are at. And Kantos appears to be really far back, but again, those timers, the desync, there's about another minute left for Kantos to sort of catch up in a way. It's a weird way of thinking about it, but is probably actually closer to these players than obviously closer than he appears, but actually, I think pretty close at the end of the day, maybe 20-30 seconds. So Baroness von Bonbon down at 11:51 for Kantos puts him back, I think, like 30-40 seconds behind our leaders, so still in it.
Yeah, it is a very close race. I'm trying to see the exact timers when the bosses die, but yeah, it is incredibly close. And due to those in-game times and the loading screens, we have some desync happening. But do not worry. And in the end, we'll see. We have the final story. But Toru and Melwest have almost the same loading times, which makes it convenient for us. And there are the two teams that are the closest together for the first place, which is also convenient. But careful with that boss, because Melwest taking a first hit here. Careful, this is the boss that cost Vandal alive, and about a minute and a half, I'd say. Like, the boss is incredibly long and scary. Melwest taking a second hit. That's not the good time for him to die. Toru, meanwhile, doing great, having all his HP for the second phase.
Oh no! Mel West falls off the edge of the cloud and dies. I was just wondering, how much health does this boss have left? If you come in with 5 supers and let loose with all 5, you're most of the way there, but that was not the case. Mel West already took 2 hits at the second try here and didn't like that, so he's going to go ahead and retry.
Yeah. Smart move, I understand. But Toru is now going to be so much ahead, and Kantos is probably a minute ahead of Melwest also. Careful, because that second place can actually be contested. Chidu's team is only 2 minutes behind, and Kantos' team only 3 minutes behind. So he has to be to make sure that doesn't happen again, or the story is going to be completely different. I was sure that was like the an assured second and first place for Toru's and Melwest team. Oh, and that's so scary.
It must have why is it not dead yet? He's hit it with 3 blue supers, got in there with the spread supers. I wish he was sure that boss was going to be dead, and when it didn't, he had to hightail it out of there, barely held on. Whew.
Yeah, crazy game. Little My in chat calling already the win for take damage. The team take damage. We'll see. But that's a fitting name for Cuphead. You want to take a lot of damage intentionally to save a lot of time. And it's working quite well for Toru so far. Only 1 HP on that fight. Careful. It's pretty easy to dodge everything, but in Cuphead, it's usually... you can be overwhelmed pretty easily also. It can... you can lose all your HP in a couple of hits without realizing it, or just getting into one situation where you're completely cornered off and you cannot do anything.
Toru is finished off Rumor Honey Bottoms as the other players are either in the fight or on their way. Toru is looking really strong here. 2 fights left. Sally Stage Play and Phantom Express. First, we're going to do a little shortcut around the junkyard here. Lots of cute little shortcuts in this game that you make use of in this run. So that can into the Sally Stage Play fight. Contest moving on to the next island. Mel West is wasting supers downwards. Don't think those connected. Not sure what that was about.
I'm not sure either. Maybe just out of
again.
frustration.
Maybe
downward the boss has like a hitbox. I don't know. Not sure. But Toru.
There's been cases of that in other games, but
yeah,
it's a
like
bit of a stretch.
more on NES games, and so like NES, SNES has a lot of those. But I would be surprised, but I don't know. Do not have like the full knowledge for Cuphead speedrunning. Toru, Shidu are very close together, getting to the second to last boss almost at the same time, I guess. We'll see when Shidu gets there. And Toru on Sally Stage Play dies! Oh no, steps on a I don't know, a mechanical mouse those are, I think, and has to start all over again. This is Dalsim reincarnate with those dive kicks.
Contos has got the roundabout. This is not a good fight for the roundabout, but he has finished it off now. 1.5 minutes back from these other players. In terms of their timers, so 1.5 minutes to get to where they are now to kind of catch up, which seems pretty close. Contos is still in it. Chidu and Toru are, well, Chidu's ahead here by, I'm gonna say about 40 seconds, maybe 30.
Yeah, it's about 40 seconds, I'd say. And Melwest is almost catching back up with Toru now. About like 5 seconds difference. But yeah, Shiru is 45 seconds ahead of Melwest. That's not enough to contest the second place, but we still have a last boss to go through. We'll see what happens.
Phantom Express cannot be suplexed, unfortunately, so we're just using our spread shots here. It does a lot of work on phase 1, where you can get close and be relatively safe. Phase 2, you're going to have to be doing these jumps, though, and you're pretty much guaranteed to not be hitting with every bit of your spread weapon. And it becomes very important to make sure that you get your cart directly underneath each side here on the second and third phases. So there's a bit of work to be done manipulating this cart. We'll see how it goes. It's going well for all 3 players who are on this boss so far.
Very informative stream for me, because I didn't know, but chat confirms that there are hidden hitboxes under the map for Beppy and Honeybottom. So that's what was up with those super shots behind for Melwest. So probably dealing some damage there. Very nice. And it finally deals with the Phantom Express. Neck to neck with Toru. We'll see the final times, but that's going to be very close. And Shiru is probably going to be about at sub 20. It should be. He has like plenty of time actually to go sub 20. So very nice run. Toru will finish out at 2017. Very nice run. Shiru will be at 1940, 38, and Melwest at 2021. So very nice run for the runners. No sub 19. I'm pretty sad. And yeah, big death for Melwest, which still has like a 2021 with 2 huge deaths and some pretty bad fights here and there. So that was actually close. With no death, that first place could have been in the hands of the team's T2S. Yeah, losing 2 minutes in a run like that can be very painful. That's 20 points gone. And yeah,
Contos
congrats
now
to
as well, finishing up the Phantom Express, and has to just go through this screen and walk over there. So we'll see what the final time is going to be. It's not going to catch Chidu, but it's going to be a very good time. Actually, what is Contos' PB? For Cuphead.
Contos PB for Cuphead.
It's 165 points, which is a 22-27.
Yeah, so that's actually a crazy PB for Contos if the website is updated. Like,
That's
I'm not
right.
surprised for Cuphead because that's maybe just like him not dying twice in a run, and boom, makes it like Death Last to the end at 1953. But that's amazing time. Like, very very nice. Getting the sub Melwest and sub Toru live on Speed Gaming 3. Congrats to him. Congrats to all our runners for joining today. Obviously, if you liked what you see, do not hesitate to join or to join and follow all the runners: Kontos, Toru, Shidu, Melwest, Fabulous, Moonrim, Stifler, and Vandal are all on Twitch streaming their practice and learning of all those speedruns they do. And yeah, sadly, that's not going to be enough for T2 the team T2S to contest the team take damage first place with a total of 1,393 points take damage after 10 races, 2 on Metal Slug, 2 on Castlevania, 2 on Shovel Knight, 2 on A Story About Miracle, and 2 we've seen tonight on Cuphead. Snagged the first place, very nicely done. 31 points behind, we get the team T2S, represented today by Mel West and Stifler. Very, very nice. On third place, we got Kontos and Moonrim team. We had the team PB squared with 1336 points. So that's like about a regular 30-point difference between all those runners, which is about 3 minutes total on those 10 races if you add their time, which is like crazy good. And with Chidu's, that's about like oh, that's actually PB for Chidu. Didn't you mention it's 1941? I do not remember. Shidu got 1941. So if it's not PB for Shidu, that's very close. Very nice race. And that's going to be probably 193 points. So third place. Oh, actually third place for Team Picture with Vandal and Chidus today getting some good runs. And fourth place, very close together, 10 points in between them, 1 minute. Oh, and Chidu actually beat his PB today. Very nice. So yeah, those were very good run, very promising for Saturday's races. Saturday at 11 a.m. EDT, that's 8 a.m. if you wake up in the morning on Saturdays, Pacific Standard Time, well, daylight actually, and at 5 p.m. CEST. I wonder, that's right before the soccer, so you can get on and watch the first qualifier match for the UD6, the first competitive tournament. It's going to be very nice. We are going to see 5 games in a row, and I'm very excited for the multiple game races because we've seen a lot of streams of just a single or a couple of games, but seeing like a lot of different games and see how well the runners deal with the like each individual run, but also having to come back and forth on different game without having the time to practice is very nice. So thanks a lot for joining, thanks a lot for watching, thanks a lot to all the runners for joining the team tournament. That was actually very enjoyable to follow along. We did stream all the runs on Speed Gaming, and yeah, that was actually pretty nice. We had some crazy good runs, a lot of PBs from all the runners, and that bode well for the future.
There's a ton of stuff happening on Speed Gaming today. The schedule is jam-packed. If you look on 4, you can find Celeste if you look on 2. Final Fantasy 1 randomizer. A Link to the Past randomizer continues on the main channel. Speed Gaming 5 is going to have more Celeste. And coming up right after this, with maybe a 15-minute gap or so in between, is going to be The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX. So tons of things happening on Speed Gaming. I also am super excited for the what UD kind of really is at the end of the day, starting on Saturday. Hope to see you guys there.